This editing took me quite a while, but here I go. And I'm gonna try to fix the AFV line as good as possible for all of you, so you can guys see and why it is like this and why it should be like this. Man, this is annoying. Why they input like this? It's up to them, you know. They are developers, we are just the players. But I think this video is gonna help quite a lot, so you make some connections. So I'm gonna speak about AFVs, which is one of the most empty lines and very mashed up lines. In the beginning, when I started playing this game, it was easier with the text tree, but now it's it's a very big mix of tanks. So I'm gonna speak about the Sophie Wolfley, Morashishkin and Zanfeng. I'm not gonna go into Oscar Faraday text tree because it's not fully completed, but I'm gonna try to make a video to fix this text tree also for you guys. And then we're gonna speak about Francine de la Roche, which is a very big mix here of tanks that some of them don't make any sense. And let's start. So we have AFVs. A lot of these tanks, as you guys see beneath this line, some of them they're not supposed to be where they are, and some of them are not even close enough to their position or tier, and some of them are much better than some and should be placed higher because they're more advanced, much better designs, you know. I've made an image, so I don't go through all of these and explain. I'm just gonna go and show you guys an image that I've made. I've just cropped some portraits of the tanks in the text trees and set them in a freaking image. Please be aware that this is my type of text tree and I'm gonna come with explanations also. Let's go. Before we go into this this video and so on, it's gonna be split in I don't know how many parts, probably 1, 2 or 3 parts of the AVs, and then it's gonna be for TD, ABT, Light, SPG and what's left. So I didn't put Scimitar in tier 1, but this is the text tree as you guys see a part of it. I'm not gonna discuss all of it because there's some missing tanks, missing links of the tanks, and some tanks should be put in the game because are at the same level as some in the game, and also because some tanks made a huge impact in the development of some other tanks. Let's try not to mix all of this, just try to focus one line at a time. So from Scimitar, which I don't have him here, at tier 1, it will go straight to love 1/5. In the tech tree, it's gonna be split separately to try and put all of this together, and plus research behind. So we have love 150. From one love 150 we go to 3 different tanks, 3 different styles. We have OT65A, XM, 800 Lao and BMD1. Why like this? It's because I presume what's left, it should not be added as a link. It should be separate. We start with the OT65 line towards up. Here we go with the tank straight to Jamila, which is a tier 4 0882 Jamila. And let's presume here that the tech tree dealers, they try to do a special tank that it's much better than OT65A, and they mounted on a chassis, same 4-wheel drive, but with 2 cannons with heat ammo. And they said after a while, man, you know what, that OT65 was great, let's make an OT64 and split and go towards another vehicle, but this time with not so many ATGMs or not so many heat cannon and so on. Let's put it in a vehicle, just a normal vehicle, where you can switch from a machine gun to a ATGM launcher, and that's from OT64 we go straight to ZBL08. And here they tried to add a tank that basically it was at the same level and the same size, also at the same size with the other tank, but it was also very interesting to see this coming because it will be another transition, an important one. which it will be the Rosomak 7 at tier 7. Now we have the Rosomak at tier 7, and let's put it like this. The dealers said, okay, in the past we had OT64 with the ATGM launcher, it was nice. And then we tried something much sporty for the AFV, you know, infantry to take them, but we have to use them, so we kind of keep the same tradition of a 8-wheel drive, you know what I mean, and we just put a main gun and the infantry inside, so more munition and so on. After a while they go and they think, okay, we have Rosomak M1M at tier 8, but we add some ATGMs, time changes, and we need powerful guns. And here the developer team make probably a big mistake in my opinion, because in my research it says that the Rosomak M1M, it has a few variants, but one of them it is the Keito Rosomak M1M Wataha, which we have him as a tier 8 premium in the game, and this is a tank at tier 8, a much better in quote tank than the Rosomak M1M. Not so much changes between these two tanks, just that one has a cage, the other one doesn't have, and one has some stuff in advance and some doesn't, so it's a plus and minus, but are very similar tanks identically. And is a tier 8, and we accept that it's a tier 8 AFV. But then it came with a tier 8 Wilk, and I put it a tier 9 title. Why? Because after the Polish defense forces, they said, okay, we have this type of good chassis of a Rosomak, similar to, you know, the Striker Tech Tree and Striker line, which is a different subject. They said, okay, we don't want to have any more turrets like this. We want to try with some experimental turret, and the experimental turret it was basically a turret with a main gun and no ATGM launcher, no machine gun. And the tank, it wasn't anymore an AFV, now it was a tank destroyer. It was very interesting to see this coming. However, I would have put Wilk at tier 9 as a premium or as a tier 9 progressive tank, just to keep the Wilk at tier 9 as a premium tank. And between Rosomak and Wilk XC8, it will be a big gap where the player will have to play quite a lot to get the tier 10 Wilk. And that would be plausible because Rosomak M1M is not a bad tank, it's a very good tank at the tier 8, even much better than some other tanks at tier 8. But here, as you guys know, between Rosomak and Wilk in the game we have WPB Anders. And I put the tag on Anders as tier 10. And why? Because Anders is a different tank. It's not the same as with Rosomak line, so to me, well, Anders is much more above than even, let's say, the Wilk XC8. And if we put Anders versus Wilk, I will say that in a fight, Anders will beat Wilk, no doubt. Plus, it's a different type of a tank. The Anders is a light tank, Wilk is a TD. We have a TD already at tier 8, and why not to keep this line clear? So that the player knows, okay, I started all the way with an AFV, but in the end, concepts came and we have a TD at tier 9, the Wilk at tier 10, but they came also with the ingenuity and they said, you know, we can have also a tier 10 light tank. It's much more than a tier 9, this Anders. It's not just tier 9, it's a tier 10 in my opinion. This was this line, put it out, and this is gonna be the end of part 1. See you guys in the part 2 where we speak about the rest. See you next time.